Hello, it's a pleasure once again to welcome you to this video where we'll be looking at Emacs. What is Emacs? How can we use Emacs? A lot of questions going through your mind. Well, this video is for you if you've never even heard about the word Emacs before, or you've heard about it but you don't know what it's all about, you don't know how to navigate your way through, and you just want to learn as a complete beginner in a very simple and clear manner about Emacs. You want to know some of the basic commands, how to read and write files in Emacs, and how to do some of the basic things in Emacs, then this video is for you. And this video would also be looking at why learn Emacs, why you need to have a basic idea of what Emacs is, why you need to use Emacs, what gives Emacs an edge over other IDEs and text editors. We'll be looking at all of that in this video. Remember, you can understand everything we'll do here even without having any prior knowledge of Emacs. Even if you haven't even heard about the word Emacs before, we would explain everything from scratch. So do well to stay tuned. What is Emacs? Simply put, Emacs is an IDE or a text editor. That's the easiest and simplest definition for Emacs. Well, Emacs is more than that, but that's the easiest and simplest definition. But for some of us, we may not have heard the word IDE before or even text editor. Okay, so let's look at basically what an IDE is. So an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, and that may look like so much of a big grammar. So when we say Integrated Development Environment, what we are simply saying is a software that is used to build other softwares. An environment where you build softwares, that's an Integrated Development Environment. So when you hear of IDE, anything IDE, just know that it is used to build other softwares. That's just the simple basic definition for an IDE. So how does it relate to Emacs? Let's say Emacs is used to build other softwares. It's a text editor for writing text and, just as the name implies, for also writing codes, writing simple operations. Now, if you know about other text editors like VS Code and some simpler text editors, you may wonder, why should I bother myself using Emacs? Well, now this is the real definition of Emacs. Emacs is not just a text editor. In fact, Emacs performs like a full operating system. Yes, Emacs performs like a full operating system. How so? Well, Emacs can basically manage every other thing, almost every other thing you do in your computer. Just like an operating system simply manages every other action your system performs. So Emacs is not just a text editor, or Emacs is not just used to build softwares. Emacs could be used to write mails. Yeah, it could also be used to do various things like reading a file, writing a code, opening a file, reading manuals, using a shell, and just every simple task Emacs can perform them. Now, Emacs could get really complex and you could use Emacs to do really big things. In fact, you could use Emacs for the rest of your life to do everything, to own your computer. And Emacs is also very popular among software engineers. And so if you're looking to be a programmer, a software developer, you need to have basic idea of Emacs. It gives you an edge, honestly. And so in this video, we'll not be looking at the complex parts like open source or how to customize Emacs using libs, get into the org mode. These are really complex things in Emacs, but we'll not be looking at any of those, just the really basic things. Let's get started. I hope I've provided you with enough reasons to want to learn the basics of Emacs. So let's go. I'll be using Ubuntu to open Emacs. Yeah, so you want to get used to Ubuntu and the Linux operating system if you are going to, if you plan on being a software developer or a programmer and you want to have an edge over others, you really want to get used to, just want to get used to Ubuntu. So I'll be using Ubuntu here. Now, I do not need to change my operating system to Linux before I run Ubuntu. Instead, I have already downloaded Ubuntu from the App Store, and so I could just run it here. Now, there are various configurations on how to download your Ubuntu. If you're using Windows, just simply go to the Microsoft Play Store and search for Ubuntu, and then just download it and install. In most computers, that's all you need to do, download and install, and it will run perfectly. In some computers, there may be minor tweaks and things you need to just adjust. So you could just do a quick Google search depending on your computer to see how Ubuntu is going to run in Windows. Now, after downloading Ubuntu, we'll use Ubuntu to access Emacs and learn all the basic commands of Emacs. Okay, so now let's see how we can access Emacs. Let's see how we can install Emacs using Ubuntu. Once you download your Ubuntu and install it, it will ask you to put a password. Please don't forget that password. It will ask you for your username and then password. Remember to put your username and then your password, and do not forget the password. So you may put something really simple that you can always remember. After that, the first thing you want to do is sudo apt get updates. Sudo apt get updates and hit enter. When you hit enter, it's going to update your Ubuntu and install every necessary dependency needed for your Ubuntu to perform optimally. Remember to type this code here, sudo apt get updates. Now, after that, next thing you want to do is sudo apt get install Emacs. So this is the code to actually install Emacs. If you're using Windows, you know, you could go and download and then click next. But when you're using the shell, when you're using Ubuntu, everything you do is from the terminal. And actually, that's good if you get used to it now. So you want to type sudo apt get install Emacs. This is the code. After hitting this code, just press enter on your keyboard and Emacs will be downloaded on your computers. Okay, now that you've installed Emacs, what's next? Now we need to open Emacs so that we can see the basic commands Emacs have. So how do I open Emacs? It's very simple. This is the simplest way to open Emacs. Just write Emacs, like type it out. You want to make sure you make no mistake. So this is it, Emacs, just like this. This is all we need to actually open up Emacs. Just type this out and then press enter. And when you press enter, you should be met with something like this. If you followed the video up to this point, you should be welcomed with a page and an interface like this. Don't get too scared when you see this. You will just want to take your time to read it. Welcome to the GNU Emacs. And there are different things that this welcome page helps us do. One of them is to get help. We could access the Emacs manual, Emacs tutorial, and so many things. Now we can exit Emacs. We could do so many things with Emacs and actually find Emacs as a text editor very easy to use. So let's focus on using Emacs as a text editor, basic commands. So the commands for opening Emacs is just to write Emacs on our terminal. That's the first. Now for closing Emacs, the command is Control X, and then Control C. Immediately I press that, Emacs disappeared and I'm back to my Ubuntu terminal. So if I want to open Emacs, once again, EMACS, Emacs, press enter. And then if I want to close Emacs, I could just Control X and Control C. Now, but there's another interesting part of Emacs, and that is we could actually use this file, edit options, buffer tools, help to actually navigate our way. So if you press F10 on your keyboard, you should open file, and you could use your arrow key to move around. So on my keyboard, I pressed F10. Now in your arrow down key, you could use it to move around. So in case I've forgotten how to quit Emacs, but I remember how to use the F10 command, everything could be simple here. Just press F10 and then scroll down with your arrow down key. And here is it, quit. And you could see the command to quit there. Control X and then Control C. So in case I forget this, I could use my F10 to go to quit and then press enter. It will still quit Emacs. So I hope the opening and closing of Emacs is simple here. Absolutely. Now let's look at other important commands of Emacs. Now there's something you're going to notice about Emacs. And as we continue to talk about the basic commands of Emacs, I want you to put this in mind. A lot of times we are going to talk about C. You could see it here, CX, CC. Everywhere you see C, it stands for control. And then there's another file that is also very common, and that is M. You're also going to see a lot of times we are going to use this command, M. So what does M stand for? M is the Alt key. So anywhere you see M, this is the Alt key or Meta key. And anywhere you see C, this is the Control key. So with that, let's discuss more about some of the basic commands of. All right, so we'll be looking at the basic commands for beginners using Emacs as a text editor. And if you've been following the video up to this point, we've installed Emacs, we've even opened Emacs, and so let's look at some of the basic things we can do with Emacs. So I'm going to open Emacs and by just simply typing out Emacs on my Ubuntu terminal, and then I'll click enter. I'm going to be welcome to Emacs, and so from here we can do a couple of things. We want to use Emacs as a text editor, so we want to write text. And so it leads to the question, how do I open a file in Emacs so that I can actually write something into it? So if you have this question, how to open a file in Emacs, for any reason you don't understand how to open a file in Emacs, when you see this welcome screen, well, this is the video, and it's very, very easy. So there are different ways to do it. You could use the F10 method and just simply press F10 and click on this, use your arrow key to go down and visit new file. So you could visit new file by simply pressing enter, and then you would be redirected to a new file. Now if you look at the right hand side of the visit new file, this highlighted text here, you can see CXCF. So this is the command. Now I want to use command and not this F10 shortcodes. So what I will do is CXCF. Now what is CXCF? It simply means Control X and then Control F. Now, so I can open a file in Emacs using Control X and then Control F. Now, how do you do that? Just type Ctrl X on your keyboard and look down this part here that is highlighted white. You can see it, Ctrl X. I've typed it, just Ctrl X and then Ctrl F, like Ctrl X and then Ctrl F, and then you can see here it says find file. You can see it clearly, it's written down here, it says find file. So that is after typing Ctrl X and then Ctrl F. So what I'm going to do now is to write the name of the file I want to open. Let's assume this is my first time, my very first time using Emacs. So I have no file and I want to create a new file from the start. Maybe the name of the file should be hello. So I'm just going to type hello there and hit enter, and you can see I actually have a file hello already, and so I have hello here and I can just continue. So I've been able to open this file using the command Ctrl X and then Ctrl F. So that is the command to open a file from Emacs. Now there are other ways to do it, but when it comes to command to open a file from Emacs, it is Ctrl X and then Ctrl F. The next thing we want to look at should be to actually type a file. So you could write anything here, something like hello man, press enter, go to the next line, I'm learning Emacs. You know, you could just keep writing. It's a text editor, so have fun with it, write with it and explore it. Now let's say I want to write hello team, and you can see my team spelling is not correct, so I want to correct this. I want to undo what I've just written. I want to undo what I've written. So it brings me to the question, how do I undo in Emacs? And there's a command for that. The command for that is Ctrl X and then U. That is Ctrl X. So you want to look down at this space here and see me type it, Ctrl X and then U. You can see it has successfully undo my last command. So you can see the hello team that I wrote is actually out of place now. You can't see that again. It has undo the command. So let me write it again just for clarity. Hello, let me say boys, and I want to undo this. All I have to do is Ctrl X and then U, and you can see the voice is out of the place. I have only hello. So if you want to undo, the command once again is Ctrl X and then U. Now I've written hello man, I'm learning Emacs, hello team, and I want to save this file in Emacs. So how do I save a file using Emacs text editor? That is the next question. It's pretty simple. The command to save a file in Emacs is Ctrl X first and then Ctrl S second, and then you can see down it says root home bwave hello. So this is the command to save a file in Emacs. With this, I've successfully saved the file in Emacs. Now let's see if I quit Emacs and come back, if I'll have my file waiting for me after saving it. So how do I quit Emacs? The command is Ctrl X and then Ctrl C. So if I want to quit Emacs, I could use the F10, remember, and then just come down, and I'll be able to quit. You can see the command also here, Control X and then Control C. So if I want to use the command, I'll just simply type Control X first and then Control C. You see, I've quitted Emacs. So I want to open my file named hello in Emacs. How do I open it from this environment? I just have to type Emacs, and then I could just space hello. If I hit enter, I would see my file called hello. Now let me hit enter, and that's my file called hello, and you can see everything I typed is waiting for me, so it successfully saved it. So far we've looked at the command of opening a new file. So let me open another new file now in Emacs, and that will be Control X and then Control F, and you can see down it asks me to find file, so I can just write new file. It's a new file, and press enter, and you can see down it says new file. So this is a new file that has not been saved. And so you want to practice the things we've done so far, like just writing random things, hello, and just enjoying the Emacs text editor. So these are really simple things you can do with Emacs here. And now I want to save this file. I can simply Control X, and then Control S, and you can see down it says root home bwave new file. So these are my directories. New file is the name of the file I've saved, and it's in bwave and it's in home. So this is how to save on Emacs, and we've also looked at how to undo. If I want to undo what I've written, Control X and then U, and you can see I've actually undo the last things I wrote there. Now if I want to do more things on the Emacs text editor, like to actually cut out a line, so how do I get to do that? So I want to cut out a line. What's the command for cutting out the line on Emacs? The command is Control K, and you can see the entire line has disappeared. I've cut it out. So if you're used to Microsoft Word, you know how to cut the text and then paste it. So this is how to cut on Emacs. Control K, and it would cut out the entire line. Now I want to paste that line. I've cut previously out. The command to paste the line is Control Y, and you can see everything is back. So you can see any command you type would come here at the down and actually show you what you're typing, what you're saying. So we've looked at some commands, like how to open a file from Emacs, how to save a file, how to undo, how to quit, and how to cut a file. How to paste the file, we've also looked at it. Now I have some long files, some very lengthy files, and I want to search through them. How can I search through my files? Now this is just some small text. Imagine I have so much lines of text, so let me just keep pasting things down, and you can see the text is getting longer and longer because I'm pasting using the Control Y. And then I want to search, maybe I want to search for all the word with T. How do I search? I'm going to do Control S, and you can see what we have here. It says I search. You can see what we have down there. After doing Control to search, Control S would help us search. Now what I want to search for, I just have to write, it says, and now I can see the T. For all the time I have T, everything is highlighted. You can see them. All the T's I have are actually highlighted. So this is the power of searching in Emacs. Now let's say I want to do some more things, like, okay, so basically what have we discussed? We've discussed how to open a file, how to save, how to cut, how to paste, how to search, how to quit, how to undo. We've discussed so many things. Now let me save this again. Control X, and then Control S. So everything I have now is being saved. And let's say I want to copy a text. So I want to copy a line of a text. So how do I do that? I'm going to, let's say I want to copy this last line, or let me just add a new line and then write something unique something. So I'm going to write something unique or unique something, and I really want to copy this. To copy a file, to copy something, to copy a text, to copy a line in Emacs, we are going to use the Alt key. Alt W helps us to copy a text or a line in Emacs. So since we've been dealing with the Control, but now we've come to the Alt command, which I previously said is another important command in Emacs. So how do I copy? I'm going to, on my keyboard, I'm going to type Alt W, and I've copied it. You can't see that I've copied it, but how do we know we've copied it? Let's go to a new line and try to paste it using the command Ctrl Y. And let's copy again. Alt W. Oh, copying an empty line. Okay, Alt W, and then you can see it has actually pasted what we copied. I didn't copy it from the unique, so that's why. So it has pasted what we copied down there. So to copy something, Alt W helps us to copy it. Remember, whenever you see M in Emacs, it stands for meta or alternate key. And then when you see C, it stands for control. Now we also have some other commands, like to move forward one word, to go to the beginning of the buffer, to go to the next sentence. There are so many of these commands. There are really many. There are so many. I wrote down a few of the basic commands, and so you may do well to check it out. Just a few of the basic commands actually. Like the command to open Emacs is simply Emacs. The command to open a file in Emacs, we could use the file name, we did that, or you can simply do Ctrl X and then Ctrl F. The command to close Emacs, Ctrl X and then Ctrl C, and this is the short form CX. So if you're writing something like a quiz or something, and then they say the command to close a file, you wouldn't go and write Ctrl X. You just write these forms that are in the brackets, CX, CS. or to open a file from within Emacs, CX, CF. This is how you write it, but for you to understand what it means, that's why I've broken it down to explain elaborately. Ctrl X, Ctrl C to close a file, to close Emacs, to open. You could use the Ctrl X, Ctrl F command, and so on. So there are about many of them. We can see the command to move forward one word, to actually move one word forward in Emacs, and that is alternate F, and the short form is MF. You can see the command to search in Emacs, and that is Ctrl S, also known as CX, and so there are a lot of them. These were just a few that I thought were very basic for a beginner who has no idea. The aim of this tutorial is to try to make Emacs text editor as simple as possible for a beginner who has done nothing in Emacs before. So that's why I compiled this. But you can actually refer to the Emacs guide, the Emacs manual, to see a long list of commands. I'll put the link in the description below, and you'll see a very long list of commands. Most I don't even use them at all, so they are so long, and you may really not have any need to use them, but the fundamental ones are what I've just done. So this is the fundamental, the basics in Emacs. I think Emacs here is telling me fundamental. So these are the basic things we can do with the Emacs text editor. Remember, as a shortcut, you could hit the F10 and do any of these things. But then if you're giving a quiz, you're not going to write F10 there. So you want to know these basic commands, so that if you're giving an interview, a quiz, or a project, anything, or if you're explaining it to someone else, you can really explain it so well. Okay, so I'm going to quit Emacs now. That is after saving. Although it has auto saved, let me save it again with the Ctrl X and then Ctrl S. Okay, so I've saved it here, and let me quit Emacs now by typing Ctrl X and then Ctrl C. So we're done with Emacs. It's official. The beginning, like, this is just a basic guide. We've walked through the installation of Emacs, how to download it on Ubuntu, how to even install Ubuntu for Windows, or if you're using Mac, you could get it from App Store, Apple Store, and if you're using Linux, oh well, better. So we've walked through how to open a file, everything basically needed to write your first text or your first code or anything you want to write and save it in Emacs. Thank you so much once again for watching this video. I hope it was really helpful. I hope it helped to simplify Emacs as a text editor. And if you have any questions, anything not so clear, please comment below. Drop it in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer as simply in the most simple way I can answer. I'll try my best. Thank you once again, and this is the end of the tutorial. In the next video, we'll be looking at another popular text editor. You want to know what that is? Please do well to check for the next video.